do you have something like that where you're like, yeah, I'm super smart, but this is the dumb thing I do, and I know it's dumb, but I do it anyways?
Watches The Challenge on MTV.
Yeah, me and Sam, we both watch shitty reality TV, and we're like, yeah, we know there's better things to do, but we do this anyways.
Big Kardashian fan, eh?
A big Kardashian fan. You see, basically asking like what, creature comfort type stuff. I mean, I used
like things, us normal humans do.
No, I mean, I'm on Twitter or whatever, and that's like certainly a huge waste of my time. It's both good and bad. It's one of those things where, every time you get out, they pull you back in, like Godfather, right?
I once watched a movie.
Yeah, no, I've watched tons of movies, tons and tons of movies. Basically, like less so recently though. It's interesting. Actually, one of the things I've found, just on the Balaji preferences becoming the future kind of thing, right? Let me give you some. This is not the answer to your question, but let me riff on this and then come back to your question. Okay. There's, for example, in 2005, when Google Maps was out, but before the iPhone came out. When I wanted directions to something, what I would do is I would use Google Maps on my laptop. I would screenshot it. I would charge up the laptop. I would also print out the screenshots in the event that there was a power outage. And then I'd keep the laptop and the screenshots on the passenger side of the car as I drove. Okay. And that's why I knew the iPhone with Maps would be a success, because I had this crude jury-rigged version of it in that interim period when Google Maps existed, but the iPhone didn't. Okay. It's like a small example, right? Certain things that I've been noticing, actually, as I just talked to you, I was like, I really haven't watched that many movies recently. And why is that? It's like, well, so many of them are woke that I kind of just roll my eyes and I know exactly what it's going to be. Like Hollywood's just gone so woke. And that's just like being preached to, right? Even if you might agree or disagree with some of the principles there, it's just like, all right, again, blah, 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 right? And it's very predictable. It means the characters are hackneyed. It means the messaging is just so on the nose. There isn't any of the humor and so on that used to characterize it. There's so many areas that are off bounds that it's just all so edited. And I just found the quality of Hollywood has been dropping off a lot. Another thing I've realized is I don't hire actually from Stanford or Harvard or MIT or whatever anymore. You know where I hire from? Twitter.
Me too.
Okay. Because basically, it's international. Second is you can kind of tell that these folks can write.
Yeah, you can see what they're about.
You can see what they're about. It's like a V1 of this concept of it's you might think about how you didn't get too much signal on them from their diploma, right?
Yeah.
You get way more signal from their writing and interests and so on Twitter, not just their skills, but their values and character, right? And there's super smart guys in, Nigeria, smart women in the Middle East and so on who they shine through. And I'm like, okay, that person, right? And you've now got an index on the world that you didn't have before, rather than just buying this degree, right? In fact, actually, I don't quite say they're guilty till proven innocent, but unlike, 5 or 10 years ago, a lot of these graduates of woke schools, I mean, I think of them as religious education now, because that's what they're prioritizing. I don't know if you see this thing, they're abolishing accelerated math in Virginia and so on and so forth, right? And so it's actually something where these folks are coming out of higher ed with a religious education that basically means that they are not necessarily all that technically good anymore, and a set of priorities and entitlements that is very much often adverse to what is needed to build a business, And so I think there's been the college flippening for me, at least in terms of hiring from these places. Instead, you want to hire the guy from the Midwest or the Middle East who just has just a different set of values and is just more hungry,
What's up?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Exactly.
What's your Hollywood replacement in that same way? So that's your hiring replacement. You said your Hollywood consumption goes down. What'd you replace it with?
Old books, math textbooks. I thought it was something what like normal people do or whatever, that's like a some fridge. So, before I started my first company, I was actually about as jacked as possible to be with my South Asian physiognomy. So I like lifted and ran all the time. I worked out all the time. And it was very difficult to do that while operating a startup because, your first priority is like, there's always the temptation to make that short-term sacrifice of stay up late or skip the workout to take the sales call. And frankly, your employees, like, at least what I told myself at the time, the employees, you have your responsibility to them, which your small health or your hour of sleep isn't as important as their, because you have a fiduciary responsibility to them. You brought them on, you had to quit them jobs, move across the country. Oh, I didn't do that deal because I went for a run. Oh, okay. Well, and it took me a while to realize that actually that was a false economy. And that, like spending down your physical fitness or your health is actually something that will also impoverish them in the medium to long run, because you won't be, you can only tap into that. In your youth, you can push harder, of course, right? But as you, ouch, as you get older, you just don't have the energy to do that in quite the same way, right? You can't tolerate as much.
Are you fit now?
I'm fitter than I was. I basically, one of the things that actually I did at 1729 is, we've been doing this thing, proof of workout, right? Where you can submit like proof of work, get a proof of workout, right? Where you submit a proof of workout, we give you $10 in BTC if it's one of the top 100 of that day. Okay. And which is kind of cool. And it's got extremely good response. And basically what I realized that for the next thing that I did, I actually had to make that part of like the job and the business such that everybody expected me, just like I expected all our employees to go and exercise. And because it was actually something that advanced the company as a whole, and I just had, I can only do one thing at a time. So I needed to actually make that a front page priority in sort of the same way that people have learned that spaghetti code is a short-term optimization. And actually you're taking on technical debt. You're taking on physical debt if you are not like working out and eating right each day, So I wanted to kind of put that in the top